9 email subscribers, 200 views on a good month, and I want to be honest with you, most months are not good months. That's the entire audience for a blog I've published 52 posts on. 52. Every one of them written by hand about the books and games and shows I actually care about. Here's the part that makes it worse. This is my third attempt at building something like this. The first two failed. Not slow start failed, actually failed. Shut down, walked away, told myself it wasn't for me. So why am I doing it again? What do I know now that I didn't know then? Quite a lot, actually. And if you've ever wanted to make something of your own on the internet, I think the answer matters to you too. Attempt 1 was Medium back in 2019. I joined because a writer I followed at the time, Shonta Grimes, recommended it. She's awesome. If you've ever come across her, follow her, learn from her. She's amazing. Medium had just launched their partner program where writers could get paid and get promoted by the platform. So I went in wanting two things at once: money and community. I can tell you exactly how the money part went. Across all my years on Medium, I earned about $100. Total. Not $100 a month, $100 cumulative for years of writing. The community part gave me more. I joined communities of writers, and Medium's editorial team taught me how publishing actually works, how to structure a piece, how to write a headline that isn't a lie. I learned craft there, and I'm grateful for it. But the writing itself told a different story. A few posts got picked by curators and did fine. Everything else got 0 views. Not low views, 0. I was consistent with my writing style, but views were dependent entirely on the whims of a Medium curator. I had no control over who saw my work. None. I was renting an audience that was never mine, and the landlord decided everything. So for attempt 2, I fixed that problem. My own site, my own domain. Full control. I called it Geek, and some of you might even remember it. I treated it like a business from day one. And when it became clear it was too much for me to handle on my own, I shared it. My friend Cody joined, we ran the podcast together, and the whole thing got more ambitious. But the core mistake never changed. We were hiding behind the brand. Geek had reviews and a podcast and a clean name that could have belonged to anyone. What it didn't have was a face. 2 of us now, and still no face. And it turns out people subscribe to a person, someone whose taste they trust, whose obsessions overlap with their own. A logo gives them nothing to hold on to. Geek had opinions, some of them pretty good, but nobody could tell whose opinions they were. It was invisible in exactly the way a stranger at a party is invisible. 2 failures, 2 very different lessons. Medium taught me that control matters. Geek taught me that a voice without a person behind it doesn't count as a voice. Which brings me to what I actually want to say. I don't really care about blogging in the general sense. I care whether building something genuinely yours, on your terms, about the things that excite you, still has a place in 2026. Because look at the internet in 2026. Everything pushes you toward platforms you don't own and content shaped by an algorithm's taste. The pressure is to stop being a person and become a distribution strategy. And I get why. The numbers on the other path are brutal. You saw mine at the start of this video. But one pattern from those 2 failures won't leave me alone. Both times I failed by giving something away. On Medium, I gave away control. With Geek, I gave away identity. Each time, I handed over the part that would have made the thing mine, and then I was surprised when the thing didn't feel mine. So this third attempt is a test of the opposite bet. Keep the control, keep the identity, and drop the business plan entirely, because looking back, money was in the plan both times. I joined Medium partly for the partner program paycheck. I treated Geek like a business before it had readers. This time, I'm not trying to monetize anything. Not at this stage, maybe not for years. The first 2 attempts were businesses searching for an audience. This time, I'm a person searching for my people. Write under my own name, about the things that excite me, on a site I own, to an email list nobody can take from me. Then find out, honestly and in public, whether that's still enough to build a real audience. Maybe it isn't. That's a possible outcome, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But I'd rather find out than assume. Okay, so this is the website's admin dashboard.
9 members, as I said in the beginning, and 344 unique visitors right now. Top post in the last 30 days. This one is a newsletter. You can see that there's not a lot going on right now. There are 52 posts published on this blog, 9 members, 344 unique visitors. This is how it looks in terms of what people are seeing when they come visit this website. So I want to improve both the appearance and also the organization of posts on here, because nobody can see what the newsletter is. Nobody can see what series I'm working on. So I want to make it a little bit more organized. In terms of Google Analytics, they are pretty much consistent with what you've seen on the site itself. In the last 7 days, I had 209 active users, 211 new users. These are really low numbers anyway, so I'm not putting a lot of faith in these numbers anyway. In terms of Hrefs, this is the profile for my domain right now. It has a pretty good domain rating because the URL, like the domain itself, is not new. I've used it in the past elsewhere, but now this is what I'm using it for. So this is how this is the profile I'm starting with, and the URL rating is also slowly but surely climbing up as well. And in terms of the Google Search Console, I have 17 total web search clicks that it can see from a few months ago and until today. So this is our starting point. Now let's talk about what's next.
If you see a bit of your own project in this story, there are 2 things you can do. Both are optional. The first is the newsletter. It goes out once a week on Fridays. It's where I think out loud about whatever book or game or movie has taken over my brain that week. And it's the one channel in this whole experiment that I fully own. If you've ever enjoyed a friend going, okay, you have to hear my theory about this book, that's roughly the energy. You'd also be subscriber number 10, which honestly has a nice ring to it. The second is subscribing here on YouTube. I try to make a video version of most essays I publish on the blog, so the channel isn't only this series. And the series itself only works if someone is watching the journey. But honestly, the thing I want most is in the comments, and I'll get to that in a second. I don't know if this works. I genuinely don't. It's possible that in 2026, a personal blog about nerdy obsessions is a beautiful, doomed idea, and this series becomes the documentation of attempt number 3, failing like the first 2. But I keep coming back to one thought. I've tried outsourcing my distribution to a platform. I've tried hiding behind a brand. I haven't tried being consistently, unapologetically myself. And I think that's the variable that changes the outcome, and we'll find out together. So here's my actual ask. If you're building something of your own, a blog, a channel, a novel, a game, anything you're making because you can't not make it, tell me about it in the comments. I want to know what you're working on, and I want this comment section to be the kind of place where people cheer for each other's weird projects. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.